I'm just going to keep moving, and because look, I got more work to do. We got more work to finish. There's so much. We've made so much progress.
That was President Joe Biden saying he will continue his reelection during a rare solo news conference last night. He dismissed concerns about his health and promised to keep moving despite a growing list of Democratic officials calling for him to step aside. More than a dozen House Democrats, to be exact. Still, more than 70 members of the House and the Senate have publicly reaffirmed their support for Biden, and one of them being Representative Emanuel Cleaver, who joins us live at the live desk right now. Representative, I want to thank you for taking the time to talk to me. I know you have a very busy schedule today, but you spoke to CNN earlier this week and you've been very open about your support for President Joe Biden. Where do you stand today, especially following that press conference last night?
Well, needless to say, I'm in constant contact with people in Congress as well as advisors. I had a meeting with the labor community in Kansas City, trying to get a sense of where they stand on the issue. And I've been very clear with the White House, and I'll be clear with, of course, this audience, and that is the president absolutely must come to the conclusion on whether the Democratic ticket is stronger because he leads it or because he leaves it. And I think that the president is going to do the right thing. Now, if the president says, I'm staying, I've considered everything, I've looked at all of the polling data, and we're told by our pollsters that we have a chance to win this, then I'm in. I was in 3.5 years ago when he first started. I was all over Iowa in the snow, pulling in big crowds of 13, 14, 15 people for the president. That was, of course, before South Carolina, where he received an endorsement from Jim Clyburn, and the rest is history. But it's a tough deal right now. The only person who has the opportunity to make this decision is Joe Biden. I say that because he already has, and this is important for people to know in Kansas City and in surrounding areas, he already has the number of delegates needed to secure the nomination. He already has that. And so we can't undo it. I mean, he'd have to undo that. He is the only person who controls the millions of dollars that have come into the Biden-Harris campaign kitty. He has to give a release for that. And not to even mention the fact that we don't have a replacement. Now, of course, we can say we have, the vice president, or we have, the governor of California or Michigan. The truth of the matter is, we don't know how the public is going to react to either of them or anybody else.
And I do want to come back to Vice President Harris here in a bit, but it is safe to say that you are still supporting President Biden moving along with this election. But I do want to ask you, do you feel that this is the same candidate, the same person that you supported last go round, especially mentally and physically?
Well, the president, his steps have slowed a bit. There's no question about it. I can remember 3.5 years ago, we ran out of the door of the World War I memorial and museum, or museum and memorial. And, even though I was a little ahead of him, he was right behind me. And I don't think he could do that today. I don't think but those are some physical limitations that he's experiencing. And I have not detected, except for the ill-fated debate with the former president, any slippage in his ability, in his cognitive abilities. And I have met with him in the Oval with a number of other senators, but he displayed nothing that said he was slipping in terms of his ability to communicate. But I'm told that these things can move quickly, from appearing to be perfectly okay to somebody who's having difficulties. And so I don't know. I think the president may not even know, but his family and friends, as I think my family and friends would do, would go and say, hey, you're doing a great job. Or, as my daughter has said, she would fly up here and get me. So he is a amazing human being. He is as decent a person as you can ever meet, and accomplishments have been just magnificent. He has accomplished more than any president during my lifetime, except maybe LBJ. And so this is not some guy who was sitting around doing nothing. He was getting some major legislation being passed, like the infrastructure bill, and we're getting money into Kansas City as a result of that. And the same with the $35 insulin for those who are on diabetics who are on insulin, trying to get them, to be able to function with their limited income. So I think the president is a person that can do the next 4 years based on what I have seen. Now others are of course bringing other comments and other views to Congress and trying to share with us some of their concerns. I have not experienced it personally.
And I do want to touch on that fact once again, kind of pivoting. More than a dozen House Democrats are calling for him to step aside. Does that concern you at all, especially since we are just a month away from the DNC that will be taking place here shortly?
Absolutely, that does concern me for the very reason you just mentioned. I mean, we're only a few weeks from the convention in Chicago, and we cannot afford to have a hiccup there. We got to have everything running smoothly. I know every single member who has come out and said that the president needs to back away. And in fact, many of them are friends of mine. But I think Peter Welch, the United States Senator, the only one who's come out as of today, as far as I know, is my next door neighbor in the United Methodist building where I live. And he has come to the conclusion that the president needs to step back. I intend to talk with a number of those individuals sometime next week, and get their perspective, because I think everybody's perspective that I can get will help me make the decision. Now, I got to say that the labor community in Kansas City, Missouri has come to the conclusion, they say irreversibly, that they want Joe Biden and that they're fully ready to campaign for him and raise money for him. And I'm listening to them.
And that kind of gives us a better look at the conversations that are ongoing and underway right now. I do want to touch on this coming in from CNN not too long ago. House Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries, he did say that he did not offer President Joe Biden during their meeting last night his endorsement. So that is one of the new updates that are coming in today. And again, we're still hearing from a lot of different officials. But what do you think President Joe Biden needs to do to reassure voters, especially at this time?
Well, as I said earlier, he needs to take a panoramic view of the Democratic caucus and of everything that's going on. And as I said earlier, he's got to be able to determine himself in his heart and his soul and his spirit of whether the party is stronger because he leads it or because he leaves it. And if it is the latter, the president and his family are unfortunately being pushed to make a decision quickly, because we don't have a lot of time to waste and we don't have a plan in place. I mean, should he say, well, I've come to the conclusion I'm not going to go take the campaign any further. I don't think anybody in the United States has a plan that I know of, and I'm kind of involved in it. So the real deal will come when he says he has consulted with his family, he's consulted with both the House leadership and the Senate leadership, and he believes he has to run. I spoke with the leader, Hakeem Jeffries, yesterday, just before I left Washington. I'm in New York for a meeting here with other members, and he is very candid about where he's coming from. I'm not going to, say anything about what he's going to do, but I know what he did, which was to deliver back to the president the things that he's heard from his members in the Democratic caucus. I think Nancy Pelosi is going to do that. I had a conversation with her earlier in the week, last Tuesday. I think she's going to do the same thing, and I think Senator Schumer is going to do the same thing. And if you add those people who are going to him, along with the members of his family and the staff, I think the president will have a good picture after seeing the polling data and meeting with all those individuals I just named, exactly what he thinks he can do in this campaign. Either he can leave it or he leads it.
Congressman, before I let you go, I do want to touch on Vice President Harris once again. Now, there are reports that Biden's campaign is quietly testing the strength of Harris against Trump. Will you support the vice president as the Democratic candidate?
I certainly will. I support her 100%. I think she is bright, and I think she can prosecute the case against the former president. She is a very decent, good and decent human being. You know, in life, everything is personal. My father died just before Christmas last year. And I got to tell you, the vice president was about as pastoral to me as any layperson could ever be. And so I will never forget that. And so it's hard to erase personal things like that when you and then asked to give a political position. But on the political side, I do have to say she is eminently qualified and capable. As a former prosecutor and as a former state attorney general, I think Donald Trump would tremble if he had to be on the other side of a microphone during a debate with Vice President Kamala Harris.
Representative Emanuel Cleaver. Congressman, I want to thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me. Again, I know you're busy. You're in New York right now, and I'm going to let you get back to your busy schedule. But thank you again for taking the time.
Good to be with you.
Awesome. So again, looking ahead to next week, the Republican National Convention will kick off in Milwaukee. The GOP will nominate Trump as the presidential candidate. And again, we are just almost a month away from the Democratic National Convention. We'll be sure to keep you all updated on the latest here at KCTV5.